All right, guys. Well, it's been just a few extra minutes here after the hour. And so I say let's go ahead and get started with our introductions today. So I am Stevie from Aura. I'm so excited to be hosting the Salon Owners Roundtable this beautiful Monday. And I cannot wait to dig deeper into this topic. So we are going to be chatting today with Jennessa. She is the owner of Bounce Salon in Canada, and we are so excited to have her share how she made the shift in her business into hourly pricing from a traditional, salon service pricing structure. And I'm so excited to hear this because it is a very hot topic right now. It is all over social media. You see it coming from all the different platforms around the industry. People are really having a lot of great conversations about pricing and value. And also, how do we rebuild, after the shutdown? When all these different areas in North America were shut down for different time frames. And then once the reopening started, all these different half capacity, full capacity, masks, no masks, that really interfered with how we did and operated our business for years and years. So I'm so excited to have her and kind of dig into this and how she made this switch, how she used it to rebuild her business, and how the team, as well as her guests, have received the change. So, Jennessa, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to introduce yourself to everybody.
Thanks so much, Stevie. I really appreciate that. And you're right. It's like all of those reasons are the exact reasons why I was brought to this conclusion. I was terrified during this pandemic and running my business in a way that I just kind of realized it. I guess it gave me pause. Everybody was able to pivot, right? Every industry was able to pivot, but how do we pivot? What's our option? And it can't just be online store. It can't just be retail. It has to be something else. And there's no way for us to do that. And so I was just like paralyzed with doom and gloom. And I had nothing but time to really be able to dive into all the things that were broken in the salon model. And it gave me the opportunity to just say, I'm going to do this fresh. I'm going to open up, I'm going to look at everything that's not working, and I'm going to do this like a whole new salon and open it up fresh. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because I have a little PowerPoint presentation for everybody. So it's also how I like to do things. And also I have ADHD, so it keeps me on point. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. The truth of just being a creative is, I'm not alone in that. Okay, so we say hourly pricing, and that's really like an hourly rate, but what it really is time-based pricing. This is the story of how I future-proof my salon. We say time-based because that one thing that I really realized, and the same thing's hourly, is that I don't have inventory that replenishes, right? I don't have stock of what I sell. I have inventory that helps me create my product, but I don't have inventory of my product. So that inventory that I have to sell is my time. It's not a renewable resource. All of my stylists, that's what we have. Time does not replenish. It's done. So when you're really thinking about what you're actually selling, you're not selling the service, you're selling access to your time, which is one of the most valuable resources we could ever have. I'm gonna keep an eye on the chat. Or Stevie, if you want, you're gonna keep an eye on the chat for me. Yeah, okay, perfect, awesome. I also really love, just to say, like, I love having a conversation. I know this is like super, super engaging topic. So if you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat and Stevie will let me know and we'll answer them as we go, or like raise your hand, pop on camera, like interrupt me, whatever you want to do, politely, but we'll go from there. Okay. So my name is Jennessa Couture. I've been behind the chair for 18 years, and 7 years ago, I opened up what I thought was going to be the salon of my dreams. And I say thought it was going to be, because I think as salon owners, we always have this idea of like what our dream was, and then we start living it, and then we're in it, and then it just becomes like this thing that now controls our lives, and it stops at some point being our dream. And it's just this constant thing that it feels like, I always told my husband, like, I always felt like I was just pushing a boulder up a hill. And I knew at one point I was going to get to the top of the hill and that boulder was just going to roll down. Like, I knew it. I know it's right there. I'm almost at the precipice, but I could never get it. I felt like it was a mouse on a wheel. So I opened up I left chair rental. That's what I ended up doing. I left, I think that we all leave to open up salons because we don't like how other salons are being run. I mean, that's the truth, right? Like, that's why we go and we open up our own. And I opened up a small one chair salon that accidentally grew way faster than I was ready for. So I opened up a business on purpose. I grew it on accident. And now I actually have a team of 15. I just hired a bunch more. So I've got a team of 15, and it's a lot to really manage, right? So I'm in Ontario, Canada, and we actually face the longest lockdowns in North America. Is anybody else in Canada? Drop a little reaction. There's some, yeah, in Canada too. Yeah, in Ontario, or just in Canada. Yeah. So we were closed 11 months in total, is the closures that we had to face. And, bits and pieces, and we had some openings and some closings. It was like several closings. I'm in Windsor, Ontario, so we had 3 closures. Toronto had 2, one major long one. Like, it was just all over the place. And then when we were able to open, we had to open under massive capacity restrictions, and restrictions that are, in Ontario just have really just now been lifted. So we've really been going through this whole time. It really made me examine what wasn't working. Like I had said, like, this is just, we keep opening up hair salons because we don't like the salons that we're working for. But what we end up doing is opening up salons with the exact same models, and we end up becoming salon owners that we don't like. And it's like, it's all we know, right? It's like this wheel that just keeps being built in the exact same way, even though we know it's broken. But I really wanted this to be something that I could look at and future proof and make sure that we were really fixing something. So some of the challenges that we were facing, we of course, double and triple booking in the past. This is what we were doing. I'm a cutting specialist. I'm a curly cutting specialist specifically. And so, it wasn't uncommon for me to have a client that I'm cutting, a client at the sink, one that's drying and the one that's cashing out. I was moving along my day just like crazy, never eating, never taking breaks. And we knew that, like, if we didn't have every minute of our day booked, then we weren't making money. And so instead of booking it in longer times and charging for that time, I was booking it by the service, right? A la carte menu, and knowing how much time it took me to do this part of my job. So I'm just, again, chasing my tail all the time. But then we knew that when we had to open up, if we were forced, we were under a 25% capacity limit and unable to double book. And so immediately I knew we were going to lose money. There's absolutely no way we weren't. Zero. Like, we were going to lose money immediately. This was a problem we had to fix. So we only were able to do one client at a time. I had to be able to charge for every minute. Stylists, this is not just pandemic based, but some of the challenges that I faced as a salon owner is that stylists were constantly arguing, and specifically arguing with front desk about what they were getting booked, like, and panicking, it's a hair color. Are you sure it's highlights? Are you sure it's not foilage? Are you sure it's not this? And so the front desk became the source of stress because stylists were almost not in control of what they were booking. God forbid we had a wedding and they had to do updos. I don't know if you guys have teams where they like to do upstyles, but mine lost their brain. And so they were freaking out every single time they had to book something in their column that they weren't comfortable doing. But I was too afraid to turn it down because we needed the income, period. And so the entire booking process became reactive in the worst kind of a way, always. And then basically, as a salon owner, what I was doing was I was just waiting for my stylist to get busy. If I have 6 chairs and 6 stylists in those chairs, now I'm just waiting for them to want to get busy and to want to fill their books, and to, like, the revenue that the salon was bringing in was based on how much of a sense of urgency they had. And sometimes they don't. And the truth is, it's a hard one to hear. And I think it took me a really long time to kind of get into this mindset, is that none of my staff will ever love my business in the same way that I do. And so I can't make them work in the same way that I work. Because I'll work 70 hours in my business, no problem. But they're not going to. They want to work 10 hours. Oh my God. One of my stylists was like, I want to work maybe 20 weeks a year. Okay. That's what are you going to do with the rest of the time? What am I going to do with the rest of the time? Right. So I felt like a lot of my stress was becoming so reactive in a bad way about watching their books be empty. And then I'm sitting there going, well, I got to take more clients because you're not booking any, and it became a really toxic environment as a result of that. And I know that I am a reformed toxic hair salon leader for sure, because I'm thinking I'm going to put goals up. I'm going to make sure that you hit this goal. You're going to sell more retail. You're going to do more work. You're going to, I'm going to high five you every time you book this client. I'm going to give you a raise and a percentage, commission if you are whatever booked, right? But they don't care. They don't care as much as you do. They want to work as much as they want to work, and that's okay, right? But you need to have a situation, you need to be able to have control over the revenue within your own company. And defining it for me, the split in my brain was they are in charge of their own revenue and I am in charge of mine. They're in charge of their building and I'm in charge of mine. What is my personal responsibility? My personal responsibility is making sure that all of our time is booked, that those chairs are booked. I don't care who's in them. But this is how much time I need to sell. This is how much time that is worth. And I'm going to find people who are going to book in that time. So we turn the salon into a co-working space. None of our stylists have stations. And so I might have 8 stations, but I've got 15 stylists. And they work when they need to work. But because they have an hourly rate, I know how much that chair is worth in a week. And that's my goal, is to make that chair worth that much time, is to work that much time and to be worth that much money. That's where my personal responsibility came in. So when you look at the averages in North America, which is actually infuriating. So, pandemic aside, the industry is a $511 billion industry, but the average hairstylist in North America makes $29,000 and the average salon owner makes $79,000. The average profit margin for a salon is 8.2%. And that's if you're good. That's if you're doing it great, right? That's if you are on point, you are controlling it all. Like, that's a hard number to hit mostly in hair salons. It is not a sustainable life at all. This is because we are constantly thinking about, I don't know, like what clients are going to pay. I mean, that's the truth, right? Like, it's like we're also held almost hostage by our clients and by our own fear of what our clients think that we are worth. When you think like, no one walks into like Louis Vuitton and says, I'm never going to pay this, right to their face. But they say it to us, they say, and so we're reactive, we're emotional about our prices, and we keep ourselves low. We undervalue ourselves all of the time. And it stops us from being able to grow. I could go on a rant about that for a really long time and like the misogyny of it all, but I won't. We won't do that.
Well, Jennessa, I love so much about what you have to say, because I've worked with salons for 14 years in the beauty industry, and specifically with owners and managers, and we've had the same conversations about profitability and filling chairs and increasing service tickets and all of these things in one way or another over all the years. And I really think that the shutdown, it forced us to examine things in a way that we have not done in probably our entire industry, history, and on our personal lives as well as our professional lives. And it really forced us to look at things and accept what I like to call hard truths. And
Yeah.
there were some truth bombs in there, and I think, I felt them. And I'm sure a lot of these other owners on this call felt them too. And I could see just a few of those comments, sounds like me. My team hates updos too.
Hmm.
It is kind of this universal theme we see. So I think what it's forcing us to do is to have a paradigm shift, to
100%.
recognize what was not working and what isn't going to work. For just like you said, it's not future proof, it's not going to be sustainable. So we do have to look at this and pivot, and change directions. And I think the way to go about that is we have to move out of that comfort zone, and we
Hmm.
really have to look at the processes and the workflow and what is going to be best for myself, my business, my team, and my customers in the long run.
100%. And I think that like relieving also, I mean, we are under so much stress and pressure as
Mhm.
stylists, like as salon owners, so much pressure. I mean, every decision we make could affect so many people. Every, it's like, and everything falls onto our shoulders, and getting us through the pandemic. I mean, in Ontario, our team they were taking care of the ADI. They had, they weren't taken
Mhm.
care of. They had help though, and
Mhm.
we didn't, and so, all of that falls onto our shoulders. It all becomes so reactive and so emotional and draining and exhausting. And it's, I hear stories all the time of salon owners who just don't have the ability to retire in the right way.
Mhm.
It's like it's not fair at all. Like I said, I can go into this major rant about all that kind of stuff, but for me, the mindset shift was really dividing personal responsibility. And it is super important when you're talking about time-based pricing and shifting your team into time-based pricing to really define what you're responsible for as a salon owner and what they're responsible for. And
Mhm.
filling their books is their responsibility. Setting their own price, their responsibility. But filling your chairs, your responsibility,
Mhm.
and really kind of defining. And there's this relief of pressure when it comes to that. Because when my team comes to me and says, well, I can't find clients, my book's not full. I go, well, how do you want to fill your book? What do you think should happen? And I let them solve their own problems. And then I go, I'm going to just hire another stylist who's also going to share your chair, and that's what's
Mhm.
going to happen. You guys can both work 20 hours a week. But if you want more time, you got to build your own book. I'm going to build my company,
Mhm.
and in turn, it's going to help you. I'm going to build my company, but you got to participate. It can't all be me.
Mhm.
And that, that line, that defined line between those things, and not, of course, I'm not doing it in a way that's just like, no, not my problem. We're giving them help. We're giving them resources. We're aiding them in all the ways
Mhm.
we possibly can. But it's really making sure that you're dividing that. And there's so much less stress. There's so much less pressure, and it makes it really clear in your own mind that of what your focus is and what their focus is.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also creates, some mutual ownership and accountability as well, to be
Mhm.
your own leader, And we've got a question here. It says, commission. You guys are a commission salon, though, with
Yeah.
just hourly pricing. Okay.
Yep. 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 It's a 50-50 split. I mean, ideally you want to have somewhere around 46 to 48% split kind of a thing, but 50-50 is, okay as well. Um, but yeah, it's a 50-50 split. So whatever they bring in is theirs, and this
Mhm.
one basically is like, we think of it as like we double their, I'll go into the whole math of it all, but we double their rate so that whatever they bring in, their commission doesn't affect what they take home. They have full control over what they take home. And that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I will let you get to that then.
Cool. Yeah, no
Love
worries.
it. I'm excited.
Okay, so future proofing for me was really a way for me to make sure that not only could I survive, but also rebuild, right? And that as a salon owner, like I said, I could have more control over the revenue, and then also in turn my own income. I'm actually now no longer the income driver in my salon, which is, it should be every salon owner's dream to get away from the salon. I'm no longer that driver. I'm behind the chair one day a week. And the rest of it, I'm actually freed up to work on my own company, build my own company, and my company pays me. Um, so I don't have to drive the income, and I'm not making any income behind the chair. So enter time-based pricing. So I knew that all these things had to change, and I spent the entire shutdown just terrified of all of these things. And the one thing that I knew we had to control was the profitability of the salon immediately. So I start diving into as much research as I possibly can. I jumped onto Clubhouse. I don't know if anybody else is also on Clubhouse, but it was a great resource of education and information. I found Destroy the Hairdresser, which is a group that I now currently coach with. We are part of the Future Proof teams within salons within Destroy the Hairdresser. And I found them because of this concept of time-based pricing. And I was going through it all. I was so terrified. I was terrified of all the changes, but I knew they had to happen. So having a coach with me to make these choices and to make these changes was absolutely invaluable. So if anybody needs anything, I highly suggest that you look out Destroy the Hairdresser. And it's like destroythehairdresser.com, Instagram, Clubhouse, whatever you need. There's so much education and resources on all the things around this as well. So I didn't reinvent this wheel. I found a wheel, and really hourly pricing is in every other industry. This is just bringing all that stuff into our industry. My Frenchie is snoring really loudly again, so you guys can hear. I'm really sorry if you all can hear. Okay. So this really is about, like I was saying before, charging for your time. Our time is not a renewable resource, but there are other benefits to charging for your time, and there are benefits to your clients, but also to your business. The first one is that charging for your time is 100% transparent. What we did is we eliminated add-ons, and we really only focused on quoting the amount of time it takes us to perform that service. So that meaning if somebody was to come in and they needed blonding services, I'm not selling them Olaplex or Bond Builder as an add-on. I'm quoting them how much time it takes me to complete that entire service, knowing that things like that aren't necessarily choices or options for your clients. I think one of the things that we end up doing with this concept of add-ons is that we end up looking at our price and kind of putting it low, so that it's attractive to clients. We're servicing, let's say our highlights, or I don't know, if you've seen like those menus where it's like 180 plus, I'm like, well, what's the plus? How do I quantify the plus? And what do I do with that? Is the plus an option? So things like, having a toner as an add-on is not an option. That is a needed thing. If a client has a look in mind, there aren't choices, right? We just know how much time we need in order to give them that full look and transformation. So we talk about that, and we leave that completely transparent. Once that happens and we have that quote and we tell our clients exactly how much time we need, then it's as simple as multiplying our rate by the time. And that's it. And so when our client comes in, they know exactly what their price is. There's no extra fees or hidden fees at all. And it's also not a system where we just start the clock and stop the clock. They know exactly how much time they're going to book. We also know how much time it's going to take us to, like, we go on schedules. There's no way we don't know how much time it's going to take us. And so it's really easy to do that, right? And so when your clients are booking that time, especially when I think it's great with online booking with Aura, when they book the time, they can see the whole price of the service right away. So what you've gotten is consent. So once the client has consented on that, then there's never a change in their price. Now, if we use less time, then we charge less time, but only on the hour. So I don't go in and, if I have a client who I said takes me 4 hours and I did her in 3 hours, then I'm going to charge the 3. But if it took me 3.5 hours, I'm going to charge the 4. And so, because it's taking up my time, right? But in, reverse also, if I were to say, oh, that'll only take me 3 hours to do, but I know it's actually going to take me more, then I'm not surprising that client with more time added on. It's complete transparent agreement. If it takes me more time, then the next time they book, I book more time. It's super simple. Like I said, quoting is just that. They have everything. They're not eliminating the confusion of charging. We're eliminating the confusion of front desk. We don't have a front desk. Everything happens through our client. And again, with Aura and the fact that they can pay right on their own phone, your clients can pay right on their own phones. It's so easy to do. So we've eliminated a front desk, which honestly, it freed up about $35,000 in my budget, which was great. And it's easy. We don't have to worry about, your clients aren't stressed out about what the charge is going to be. It's also gender neutral because it's 2022. Hair has no gender. We shouldn't be priced less. We shouldn't be charging less money for a men's haircut than we are for a women's haircut. That just needs to go away. This is a totally gender neutral. You're charging for your time and that's it.
I love so many things about all of that. When we look at all the other types of professionals out there outside of our industry, if you go to a surgeon, you can't say, well, do we have to do the anesthesia? No, it's
100%.
part of the process. And I think
Exactly.
if there's also another, kind of silver lining as to what COVID did for our industry, is it made people realize how important we really are. Not being able to get your hair done or your brows waxed or your nails, it hit people in a place that I'm not sure they realized how heavily they relied on us for their own personal, wellness and self-esteem as well. And so there's so many things I love about the transparent pricing. I love that the hair has no gender, because that is such a huge thing right now. And then also, I was speaking to someone the other day who does hourly pricing as well, and they talked about children. Hair has no age either. Sometimes those 10-year-olds come in and they've got twice as much hair as mom, and they're a little more unruly in the chair and sometimes harder to cut. So, they can take a little bit more time. So removing the age and removing that gender, I think is, it's a very progressive way to just address, this is something that it's custom, yet more one size fits all for everybody. Now, we do have a couple of questions that popped up in the chat on this one too. So one of the questions, the first one is about timing. So do you do a timing test out with your stylist to make sure that there's some consistency across the board, or how do you kind of figure out what those timings are?
We let them set their own timing.
Okay.
Yeah. And also it's really about quoting it. So what they're doing is they're telling their clients how much time that they would need specifically. And then they're sending their client the link to book online, and then they're booking that. So when you see our services, there isn't like a service name. It's really just 1 hour to 6 hours in all different blocks. So when I say to my client, like they're having the consultation, if I say it's going to take me 4 hours to do that, then they just send them a link to book 4 hours. Another stylist might say it takes them 3 hours in order to accomplish the exact same goal, but that's up to that stylist to manage. What we basically say is that if it's a service that they're not comfortable with, or if they're still learning, then they keep their rate lower to accommodate for the time, and so not everybody has the same rate. We don't establish that as well. They do that on their own. And same thing with all the timings. It's really easy if you just kind of pass it back onto them. It's how much time does it take you to do it? There doesn't have to be a standard across the board at all, because everyone does something differently anyways.
Yep. And then I've got a couple others. So kind of a two-parter. Are you charging for the processing time or just the active time the stylist is working? And then the second double part of that is, are you still double booking?
Yeah, no, we're not double booking at all. We are charging for one client at a time. By doing that, we can keep our rates higher. Also because we really have that time to build luxury service. And I mean, processing time honestly varies so much now. Also, you can have somebody with really fine hair who lifts really quickly in a highlight, and then you can have a processing time that could be an hour. So there's really not a way to judge that anymore. And so what we look at is that our clients, it really is how much time it takes them to complete that entire service, including processing time. Like they're basically renting our chair for the time that it takes them to do that. And they pay for the entire amount of time, including processing time.
Gotcha. And then the next one, so are you charging hourly for the service time? SS, can you come off mute and elaborate just a little bit more on that one, or what do you mean by charging for just the service time?
Hey Stevie, this is Sarah Slade. How you doing?
Hey Sarah, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I was basically from what I'm understanding, if I'm understanding it correctly, it sounds like she's charging maybe. So I guess if you're I'm not sure exactly what the hourly rate would be, but if she said something about doubling it. So say if the standard hourly rate that you are paying a stylist is $10 an hour. Obviously, it would be a lot higher because we are worth more than that. But are you charging the guest $20 per hour or
Right.
more to compensate for the guest, but then also, does that make sense?
Yep,
Because
100%.
okay.
Yeah. So that's exactly how we do it. So our stylists
Okay.
choose the rate for what they want to make based on how much money they want to make at the end of the year. And then we kind of work it back from there. And we're going to go through like a sample, like an equation of what that looks like. But they choose their rate, and then we double it. And by doubling it, when we have the client, so let's say the stylist is charging or their rate is $25 an hour. We charge the client $50 an hour, so that $25 an hour goes to the salon. That covers all of the product, all of the stylist time, and then $25 an hour goes to the stylist. So they're earning their own income. It never has to come from the profits of the salon, and also the profits that the salon needs never eats into their own income. So it's a clear division that way. And then all the time is then paid for. Now I know what the break-even point is. Like I know the minimum. Like for us, nobody in the salon can charge less than $50 an hour because that's what the salon needs in order to cover all the bills. So that's how we work that out. And then they go from there, whatever they want to build from that point. But like, honestly, if you have a stylist who's like, I think I'm worth $75 an hour, why would I say no if they want to make more? Like, right?
Exactly.
Because if they want to make more, I'm going to make more. The salon's going to do more. But yeah, doing that and multiplying it by 2 is the clearest way to have the division so that they're in control of their own income and we're in control of our own revenue.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask one more question in addition to that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So are they considered, I don't know how the tax system is like in Canada, but would they be considered like 1099 employees, or would they still be considered like W-2 employees
So
at that point, since there's commission and hourly? Well, commission, but
So
technically hourly.
they're still on commission because you're not, like, for us as a commissioned salon. So I think that's a 1090 in the States. They're just a commissioned employee for us. So that means that nothing I'm doing is mandatory. I don't make them stay for the day. If they don't have, I have total freedom in schedule. If they're booked, they're there. If they're not, they're gone. And so nothing about them staying in the salon is mandatory. If I were to say, no matter what your schedule is, like I'm telling you what your schedule it is, regardless of whether you're booked, then I'm required to pay them a rate when they aren't producing any money, which unless you live in California, I don't think that's necessary, right? And so there is actually a class on Destroy the Hairdresser from a coach named Joy LeMay, and she's in California, so it does show you how to work that whole system. But for us, yeah, they're employees, but there's strictly commission. We still remove their taxes, we still take care of their employment insurance and all that kind of stuff, but they are not required to be in the salon when they aren't performing a service.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Now, yeah,
No, you're
thanks
welcome.
for coming off mute. Yeah, thanks for digging into that with us, Sarah. So a couple more questions keep popping in. So one, there was one about what software you're using. So you are using Aura Salonware. And then another one popped up. So new clients, and you've got this super fun video, and I'm really excited for her to show this here in a couple of slides, you guys, but specifically for new clients booking appropriately online, how do y'all manage that?
So from our website, one, they actually have the ability in the stylist to kind of see like what they do and what their bio is, but also it's about the client and the stylist managing the communication together. So we very much encourage our clients to reach out for a consultation with their stylist, and they do that from our webpage. So they would like request an appointment as opposed to just book an appointment. And then by doing that, the stylist has the ability, even through Aura, which has their own ability to text message through it. And you can also receive and send pictures, which is glorious. It's not just words. You can do emojis and stuff too. So it actually seems like you're texting. But we have them actually consult with their clients ahead of time and then recommend one-on-one how much time they would need. But that being said, also the great thing about not really focusing on services but focusing on time, we ask what your budget is as the first question. So when that happens, like if a stylist wants to go blonde, or if a client wants to go blonde but she booked a 2-hour appointment, it's not about saying I can't make your hair blonde. It's about saying what can I do in that 2 hours, as opposed to no, I can't, you booked the wrong amount of time, just go. Whereas if they were booking like highlights and you have a certain timing for highlights, but you have a different timing for balayage, but what they actually want is a balayage, like they don't know what the difference is between those two things, at all. And so when they're booking that and they're like, they come in, you're like, well, you actually want a balayage, I don't have enough time for that, And so instead of turning them away, it's really about saying, this is what you booked, this is what you're looking for, and this is what I can do within that time frame.
Love that. Yeah. And one last question, and I think you're going to break down some of your pricing and stuff a little bit here in a couple of slides, but another question that popped up is, are you using something like Salon scale and charging the guest for product in addition to timing, or you work that all in, correct?
Yeah, we work that all in. I mean, you definitely use Salon scale for your information, but you don't need to break that all down. Like separating parts and labor, in my opinion, for a client, I mean, it's helpful for us to manage inventory and to know what our costs are 100%. But to break it down to a client, you want to think about why? Do they need to know what a tube of hair color costs and what the markup is for that? They don't have to. It's kind of a way for us to say but this is all the product that you use, so that's why I'm charging what I'm charging, because this is what it is. When really you can just increase the rate, and wrap that all into it and then track your own information on top of that. It's really clear. And then that way, when your clients are booking, they're not thinking, well, this is what the rate is, but it actually depends on how much product you use. There's a variable in there still.
Got it. Love it.
Yeah. I think Stephen Bentley's had their hand raised for a little while.
Oh, I missed that. Go ahead and come off mute.
Hey, most of the questions in the chat are mine, so that's
love it.
The one that I'm typing right now, though, is what about associates? So we're a training salon. So say I do a highlight and then my associate is doing the shampoo, the finish out, the toner, and the bond building treatment. So as the owner, obviously hourly rate is going to be at a higher end than the person who's just starting out. So is the guest paying hourly rate for the work that I do and then paying the associates hourly rate for the work that they do?
Honestly, that's exactly how I would book that. Is giving your associates a specific hourly rate, one that allows them to actually book services that they're confident in doing. If they can do a highlight, but not any other service, let them book a highlight, give them a rate.
Well, we do everything skill certification based. So if they learn
strategies kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, kind of. So if they learn highlighting that week, and then their goal from there is to bring in 10 highlighting models in their time. So, and then do the whole retailing and pre-booking experience. And then, so as they're going through their training program, they're building their clientele.
Right. Perfect. That's exactly it. So yeah, I would say have them choose a rate, have them assign that. And then what happens is that you have then the opportunity to have a client say, actually, I want all of your time. And so I'm going to pay a higher rate to have you only.
Yeah.
And then that frees up their ability to book a service. So then your associates can then put a highlight in that time because your client wants all of you. And so you end up making more money in that service, and then they're freed up to book one as well. So I would 100% give them a rate. And then it gives your customers and your clients the ability to customize even more, because they can choose to either have you completely, or they can choose to break it up between you and associate to keep their price point something that works within their budget. So that gives extra customization that way.
Nice. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And then I think we've got one more question I'd like to go over right now. And then I've got 2 tipping questions, which I'm going to pause on.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. I was going to say, we've got a slide for that. So we'll circle back to those. But this one from Brian would like to know, how many non-stylist employees do you currently employ? Assistants, ordering, phone, voicemails, etc.
I have a personal assistant, like a virtual personal assistant, but she's in the area. And literally she does like, she'll like book my doctor's appointments. Like I have a personal assistant that frees me up. And then we have a stylist that, she's not a stylist. She was a stylist, but she went back to school for graphic design and she does some of our Instagram stuff, but she has about like 4 hours a week. And my virtual assistant has about 10 hours a week, and that's it. Everything else I put onto the stylists. It's their job to manage their schedule. It's their job to book their clients. It's their job to have those communications. I don't have any other support staff whatsoever. If we hire, we're also a training salon. If I hire an associate, if I hire somebody who I'm training, they have 6 months on an hourly rate. I'm paying them an hourly rate. They have 6 months where I'm giving them, and it's minimum wage. I'm not going any farther along there. And then after that 6-month contract, I pull that carpet right from underneath them, and they're on commission. And if they can't book a service at that point, then we'll let them go, and it's time for them to move on. So that's how we manage that. But I have nobody else that I'm paying at all.
So are you managing all of your, like you're taking care of doing all the ordering for color and product and supplies that you need around the shop?
Yeah, but even that, I mean, Aura actually makes, like we use Aura, and Aura makes that really simple, and software is so intuitive. All of our inventory is in Aura. The stylists scan out everything they use at the end of the day. And once a week, all I have to do is hit my purchase orders, because we have maximums and minimums in there. And I hit my purchase orders and it automatically sends it to my suppliers. So my inventory tracking and receiving takes about 10 minutes out of my week. I even track things that we have on Amazon auto ship, like our paper towels and our toilet paper, and like, what do I have to order from Uline, and what do I have to, so what that happens is whenever they fill that in, and a lot of my stylists on a Saturday will submit their own order, like, well, not their own order, but the salon order. They just hit like populate, and they just add it all in and then send it to the suppliers. And if it's something that's like light bulbs or, random salon stuff, it gets emailed to me, and I have a list of all the stuff that I have to pick up. So it's on auto run 100%.
I love that. And I love the transition to deskless. Actually, Stefan, that was just speaking, hosted a Salon Owner Roundtable that we did last month on transitioning to a deskless model, which is also another very hot topic within the industry. Again, COVID kind of made it a little bit more difficult to bring back in those positions and keep those positions filled. And you even mentioned it, and I believe he mentioned that savings. I mean, a $35,000 to $40,000 annual revenue, you're able, to cut that from your payroll and now 100%. Take that money and invest it in other areas in the business. And when you have technology that supports that automation of these once very manual, very time consuming processes, it really helps so that you're working smarter, not harder in the salon.
Totally. Yeah, totally. I'm also like very often not even in the salon. I can, because it's also cloud-based, like I can do inventory from my house. Like, so sometimes Saturday night when I'm watching a movie, I just run the inventory and send it off and I'm done. Like, I don't even have to be in the salon to do any of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that every small business owner's dream, right? We start it, we hustle, we do the thing, but ultimately, isn't the goal to be able to sit back and relax and enjoy the fruit of your labor, right? I love 100%. That. I love that.
Yep.
Well, let's go ahead and I'll let you carry on to the next topic.
Perfect. Okay. I'm going to go, where's my arrow? There it is. Okay. I got a little blind for a second there. All right. So this is where we talk about tips. And I know that was in some of the questions too, right? So for us, we include gratuity into the rate. So again, because my stylists are able to choose how much income they want to make at the end of the year, they include the amount of money that they make in tips into that rate. So there's so many things I can go into about tipping, and even the roots of tipping and why it's there. But the reason why we really want to make sure that our stylists wrap in gratuity into their rate is that they are fully in control of the amount of income that they are being, they're generating. And it's completely on them. We'll tell stylists all the time, like, oh, you're making about $20,000 or $30,000 a year in income and tips. But if you aren't one claiming that, good luck buying a house in any market whatsoever, you know, or getting a business loan, or, you know, anything. Like, good luck taking yourself, you know, seriously, to be totally honest. Like, this is, if you rely on that amount of income, put it into your rate right away. Now, I've had people, and some clients have asked me, or not clients, some stylists have asked me, like, well, doesn't that mean that you're splitting the tips with your commission? But that's not what it is, because you are creating the income goal at the end of the year, including your tips. You're creating that. Then we're doubling it. So it's not cutting into the income of your tips. It's not splitting your tip income in half. It's doubling it. And the salon is, you know, the salon takes 50%, you take 50%. So all of the tip money that you are counting on is coming to you. Now, if a client is like, here's 20 bucks, you know, and they're tipping you, I'm not going to walk around and be the tip police and say that you can't take that. If a client's going to give you money, they're going to give you money. That's totally fine. But if clients are consistently willing to pay you more money, raise your rate. You know, like, raise your rate if that's the case. And so eliminating tips really, it kind of, to me, like, and to our clients and to our stylists, like, I really thought this was going to be the thing that was going to freak them out the most. Honestly, I thought they were going to be the most freaked out about this, but they've all realized they're actually making more money. And I had a stylist start. I keep saying client because, like, I'm not looking for clients, I'm looking for stylists. So to me, my stylists are my clients, but I had a stylist join our team, and she set her own rate. And within 3 weeks, she was like, my clients are still tipping me like 50 bucks. And so she raised her rate from 60 to $85 an hour 3 weeks later, and didn't lose a single client. Because she called them and told them all about, like, now your tips are included. You don't have to worry about that. And again, it ensures that they have complete control over their income and the amount of money that they can make. And it also reminds our clients that this is a business arrangement. Like, you are contracting us for this time to perform a service. There's no more kind of emotional manipulation when it comes to worrying about that. There's no, your clients aren't thinking about, okay, well, it's going to be this price, but how much do I tip? There's no, like, awkward tipping conversation. They don't know how much to do. They don't know how to do it. You know, it's crazy. And then also, if you're running your tips through your debit machine, that needs to go on their paycheck, because you are being taxed for that income. And so it also, having all that, you know, wrapped up into a rate really clears it up for taxes, and your bookkeeper is going to adore you because it makes it really clean. But really, the major benefit is that your stylists feel fulfilled because they're able to set their own price, and nobody is saying you're not worth this. Because as much as we say tips don't matter, like, they matter 100%. And you know they matter, because when somebody doesn't tip you, you get pissed. Like, there's no, you know, and like, you could be the most humble stylist in the world, but if somebody doesn't tip you after a 4-hour service, you're like, what the hell? Why didn't I get tipped? What happens? Did she not like it? Well, what happens if they can't afford it? You know? And so it eliminates all of the emotional reactivity around that, and it just becomes an arrangement. This is what I need to do. This is how much it is, you know, done. And that's it. So it's really clear. So how we made the switch, this is actually the wording that we sent to our clients. So you're welcome to, like, screenshot or take a photo of this. Please steal our words as much as possible. But this is how we really explained it to our clients. This is exactly the email and the marketing that we sent out to them. So one, we guarantee that each team member has a unique hourly rate, which reflects their experience, the products used during the service, and their demand on their time. Because if you have a high demand, you should be raising your rate consistently. All of this is communicated at the beginning of the booking. There's no add-ons, you know, there's no gimmicks, there's no gotchas. It's literally just, if this is what it is. Honestly, with Aura especially, I can open up their ticket before they even come in, and they can pay for their service before they show up at the salon. I don't have to worry about it being different. It's going to be exactly that. And so a lot of our clients actually, they use the gift card feature, and they'll purchase gift cards. Like, if they're booking out something in a month or two, they'll set a budget and they buy gift cards to put into their file, so that they're budgeting themselves, so that they know at their service, this is exactly how much I need. This is already there. It's already there in gift cards, and they just go. So they've figured out their own, like, auto pay to book it out, which is kind of brilliant, and I'm upset I didn't think of it on my own in the first place. But the other thing that we say is that all of our services are inclusive and gender neutral. We do not ask anybody to identify in order to receive a hair service. It's gross and it should not happen. They should not have to. We share, and I highly suggest that everybody shares their pronouns at all times to make everybody feel comfortable, but we do not, under any circumstances, charge less based on their gender identity. Our rate is our rate across the board. Same thing, Stevie, like you were saying, also for age. Quality over quantity. This is what it is. Like, our team believes in quality over quantity. We'll never double book. It's a promise to them. This is a no compromise approach to hair. Double booking is just harder now. I mean, you don't know how much process time they're going to have, processing time, but also toners. Like, toners are no longer 5 minutes at the bowl. Like, that's not happening anymore. Toners are root taps, color melts, you know, Shades EQ is like a full 20-minute developing time, because that's where the magic is, in that last 5 minutes. And so, you know, it's really important to be able to give yourself the time to do these services right. And when you do them right and let all these things process and don't rush through them, then now you're giving your clients looks that last longer. And so they're getting the quality. Maybe they don't have to come back as often. You know, maybe they don't have to be here every 6 or 8 weeks. Maybe they can be here every 12 to 15. But now you're going to have so much more time with them, you know? And also, because you're not double booking, you now have to basically double your schedule, right? So you're going to be booked out even more right away. Just by changing that, you're going to be booked out in the future more, because you're not shoving everything into your schedule. So you can have your clients go a little bit longer in between their services, because you're going to need that time if you're not double booking, because one day is really going to be 2, right? And then we're going to make sure we let them know that no need to calculate tips if one does not accept them. Do they still want to give you them? Yeah, they do. And we don't say no, you know, but also, I mean, I say no because I stand firm on that belief, but I would rather it be into my rate, you know. I mean, this year I doubled my rate. I went from $100 an hour to $200 an hour. And my first thought was to go, I'm going to go $200 an hour because I don't want to do hair as much. I want to start getting people off my books. And I didn't. I still have new clients booking with me, and it floors me. But because they know exactly what they're getting into. I had a color consult the other day. It was going to be a 4-hour service. We had a full talk about it. She came into the salon and met me. We had a really big conversation about the change. And I was completely upfront. It's going to be this. It's going to be, I need 4 hours. It's $200 an hour. And she was doing the math in her head. And she's like, okay, I mean, yeah, this has to get fixed. And so that's what it was. And I am not stressed out. I'm not doing that hair color going, oh my God, this is gonna happen. Like, terrified. I know that we both consented to that, and that's what it should be. And she didn't have to think about what's the tip on top of that. So this is what our services look like in general, right? Now, again, all of our clients, all of our stylists can customize, but this is like a general look. So when a client looks at our service menu, this is what we'll say. So in the service descriptions, if they're looking at 3 hours of time, which we'll show you, in the service description, it'll give you the kinds of services that we can perform within that time frame. So that way it's actually really easy. And like, you can find that you can do that right in Aura. So when your clients, if they are just booking right online and they select, you know, I want to go darker, or I just want a haircut, you know, they can kind of go through each service time and know, generally speaking, how much time they need. I don't know why I was yelling single process hair color, root touch, gray coverage, and full color refresh, but apparently I wanted to really highlight those services. Yelling them, I guess. But this is kind of what they see. So instead of having, you know, balayage, foilage, and all the ages that no one knows what they mean, they have just, it takes us, you know, a blonding service will take us an average of 4 hours. And so you go from there. And it's the best thing really to do. It's not, you know, you're not saying that, like, for us, a haircut and a 2-hour haircut is a haircut on all types of hair. I'm not saying that because your hair is coily or curly, you need more time. This is across the board. This is what I need.
And now I've got a couple of questions, and I'm going to start with Julia first. So Julia wants a little bit more clarification. How do you budget if one client is costing you zero in products for, say, the haircut, and then the next client is costing you 15 in supplies for, say, color, foils, Olaplex, etc. And then it sounds like 100% of the cost of supplies is on the salon, correct? So can you
Yes,
clarify
100%.
that a little bit?
Yep, there's no deductions for our stylist. 100% of the costs are on the salon, but that's what that 50% charge is for. So instead of thinking of it in terms of like one service, you know, I mean, if you look at like a color correction, so if somebody has a color correction, yes, they're going to be using a whole bunch of color, but everybody else who's doing haircuts that day, that extra 50% is covering that cost as well because their overhead is lower. And so because you're charging like a uniform 50%, everybody's doubling their rate. That's going to the salon. Whatever your stylists are making, you're making as well. And so now the salon's revenue is exactly 50% of what's coming in, right? Like that's what your budget is. So you know I'm going to pay out half and half comes to me. So I know what that budget is. And you're looking more, especially with the inventory tracking, like in tracking your inventory on a computer system is 100% necessary, because not only are you putting just the products that you need, you're putting how much those products cost. So I know, and I can go back into my inventory orders and I can see how much we generally spend for products. So I'm not looking at it in service, I'm looking at it in a month. And so in my salon, I know that we generally spend about $5,000 a month in inventory replenishing. And so that's what I'm putting into that budget, is that amount of money.
And so I love this, because so what I hear you saying is there in this is again where that paradigm shift, we've got to pivot the way that we're thinking, right? So there no longer is there X amount of grams or X amount of ounces, or however you measure, you know, your color or whatever, that go with a specific service, and then we charge extra for, you know, that extra bowl or that toner. We're eliminating this idea across the board so that it's going to balance itself out. And when you've got, you know, your haircut to color kind of ratios coming in, and you've got those very low product cost services to these higher product cost services, because you're balancing out with that 50-50 split and making it all encompassing. So it works itself out. It actually brings in more money from what, you know, in the end, when you're able to pivot away from, you know, that, well, we have to do something with this, you know, product charge kind of idea.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not forcing you to think about the gram. It's forcing you to think about the month, which is all of it, right? Which is like exactly what you should be thinking. You're budgeting for the month and what you need, not just this. And so like I said, like salon scale and tracking all that kind of stuff for you, it's 100% necessary. Like the cost of the products that you use is 100% necessary, but transferring them on to your stylist or your clients isn't necessary, because I guess you are transferring it onto your clients because you're doubling the rate. So all of that is covered under the salon revenue. So out of our half, we cover all of the inventory, all the back bar products. We cover my wage. I get paid from my own company. I don't get paid for my time behind the chair. And my personal assistant and our stylist, graphic designer, who she uses every once in a while. Like everything else, our rent, all that kind of stuff is all coming out of that other half. And so that's why I have a minimum rate that they can't go below, because I know that each chair has to produce a certain amount of money that cannot go below. But again, that puts that commission and that revenue onto my hands. So if a certain chair or, you know, the salon needs more money, I'm hiring more stylists. I'm not waiting for that stylist to produce more money.
Got it. Love it. And we are coming up at the end of that hour. So
oh my goodness, that went by so fast.
I love it though. This is great conversation. Good questions are rolling in. This is fantastic. We're going to keep going. If there's anybody that needs to drop off, we want to honor your time. We will send out the recording of this, but if you're flexible and you can stay with us, then absolutely. Hey, we're going to keep on trucking along here.
I think we had another raised hand too, just in case I don't want to miss anything.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and come off mute.
Or maybe it's still just raised from the last time.
Maybe it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a
Okay, there we
couple
go.
of
So
other
I'm gonna change that.
questions. Okay, there's a couple other
Oh, good.
questions that I want to circle back to kind of about inventory and payroll and things like that. So we'll circle back to those ones here at the end as well. So that way you can kind of keep on going with the next slide.
Cool. Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay, so this is actually what our clients see when they go to our site to book. They'll select their services. This is the service times. So they have the choice. Now we have a private room option because air quote, I don't know why I air quote private room, but we offer a private room for any of our clients who have like want a silent appointment, who have some, or wear a hijab. So they select their time, they can select the stylist and kind of go through. When you click, I love this, you can actually go to like their bio, you can go to their Instagram. So picking Summer, you say that 1 hour is $65. She's going to hit continue and then go ahead and choose a time from that point. So it's like so simple. They're not going through and wondering what services to book. They're told how much time and they go and they book that time. It's like, I think the average time on the booking site for us is like under a minute. Like it's so fast and quick that we go through and do that. So here's how I suggest, and I have my stylist choose their hourly rate. So the first step is that I want them to find out what their annual income is. What do they want to make at the end of the year? And we do this a couple different ways. Either we take their income and we double it, or at the end of the day, at the end of the step, we find out their rate and then we double it there. So you can kind of double it under both steps, either step 1 or step 4. But if you were to do it in step 1, we're going to find out how much money they want to make. And then we're going to double that number. So let's say they want to make $60,000 a year. We're going to go on this equation, assuming that they're going to make $120,000. That's the revenue. From there, I want to find out how many weeks vacation they want to take. And there's no requests. There's no vacation requests in our salon. It's just like, take the time off. You're in control of your own schedule. You book whenever you want. So go ahead but actually be honest, like take vacations, take vacations and plan for that. Plan your income around you knowing that you're going to have this time off. So you take your annual income, divide it by how many weeks a year you're going to work. And then you're going to divide it again by how many days in a week you want to work. And then divide that again by how many hours you want to work. And when you divide it at that point by how many hours you want to work, that number is your rate. So everything gives you complete control, right? So if they didn't double their annual income and they just said, I want to make $60,000 a year, and let's say their rate came out to $30, then at that point we would double it. Is that clear? Did I make sense? I may have just gone off on an ADHD rant. So if that didn't make any clear, if that wasn't clear at all, please let me know.
Okay, so there was a vacation question. It does say, so you also cover your CPP / vacation for employees, roughly another 10% in Ontario.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
And then it says, with your online booking, do you have a way of closing your books, so to speak, as to not taking new clients?
Yeah, actually with online booking with Aura, you can choose that you can choose the services that are not available to new clients. And so only existing clients will be able to see those services when they book online. New clients would be directed to contact the salon. There's that option as well. And then also you can control how many months are visible online. So your clients aren't booking out a year or so ahead. They're booking like as many months ahead as you want them to see. We only book up 3 months at a time.
Okay, great.
Is that it? Awesome. So this is my team. Some of them, they're so freaking cute. But what I really make sure that I do as a salon leader when I'm kind of managing their own reactivity around this is that I work with them to choose their rate. And sometimes I have them choose like their dream goal. Like, do they want to make $300,000 a year? Perfect. Let's figure out what that looks like. And like, let's make a plan to get to that point. So it's not the rate that they're gonna make right now, but it's giving them something to work towards. And so they know that they can raise their rate and actually see that that's possible. When you actually show a stylist what it takes to make $100,000 a year, it's really not as much as you think it is. Like it comes down to like a $50 to $75 an hour rate, depending on how many weeks and what they're looking for. Like it's actually really possible to do. And so it makes it so that it's attainable for them when you show them like what's possible. So I make sure that my team is only performing services that they're confident in. That's where the rate really goes wrong. You know, I'm only making sure they're only performing services they're confident in, and I'm only making sure they're only performing on textures that they're also confident in. If they are performing services that they are not confident in, or performing services on textures they are not confident in, then they lower their rate. They have a whole other rate for that specific time until they get comfortable, if they want to be, and then they go up to a normal rate. So we have a model rate for times where that's like when you're working with services or textures that you're not comfortable, they have a different rate for that. It's so important that when you're making the switch that you're doing this with confidence and that you're 100% on board, because if you're not, then they won't ever be. So if you're a little bit like, I don't know if anyone's going to pay this, then they're going to think the exact same thing. So you have to come at this with like total certainty. Like, this is in your hands, my revenue is in mine, yours is in yours, you know, and we're all going to grow together. We're going to build up together. How we told our clients, this is also really important. Video was actually the most effective. That's 2 words. Was the most effective way to communicate. I think that when you do it in the static post or in like emails are great, but we linked videos to all of our emails and text message marketing. By doing that, you're not leaving the words up to their own interpretation. You're really making sure that your tone comes across so that you're sounding confident and certain in those moments. And it's so much easier than having anybody read anything in their own tone. Because if they're afraid of it, they're going to read it in that way. And it's just easier. I highly suggest that you record a video of yourself talking about the changes and the implements, and then link that video to text message marketing or email marketing that in Aura is right in the system. It's all there, which is phenomenal. Keep it short and clear. You know, you don't want to justify it. It's just like, this is what it is, and stick to all your benefits to your clients. How is it benefiting them? They don't need to know anything else. You know, I think a lot of times we get reactive about, well, clients need to know how much product costs and how much this costs, and like, why? You know, do you know how much it costs to make the shirt that you're wearing? No, but we know how much it costs to purchase it, right? And so stick to the points that benefit them, and they're all right there. I mean, cost is such a big thing for clients, and they're really afraid of it sometimes. They don't know what it's going to be, and so there's like sitting in the chair the whole time, stressed out, doing math in their own head because of all the add-ons and all the other kind of stuff, and then tip, you know, on top of that. So it's really easy for them to get into this. Honestly, my stylists were more freaked out than our clients were. When we made this announcement, our clients were like, oh, cool, that's awesome. That like so much more sense. So I think it's the next slide. Yeah, I'd actually like put out onto our Instagram stories, and this is just some of the ones that came out. I didn't have a single one. I asked a bunch of our clients like what they thought about hourly pricing and how they felt about, you know, going through this experience with us. And not one of the things that came back was negative. I was really expecting like some questions, some clarifications from them, but all of the stress comes from stylists. None of it comes from clients. They love the fact that there's no surprise fees. Like, I feel like I'm paying for the time I get with the stylist, so that she won't rush on my hair, which is huge. I think that when we're double and triple booking, a client feels that rush. You know, we're not easing into a luxury service. We're, you know, only talk about something that's going to be 30 minutes because I've got to move to the next thing, because God forbid my client wants to talk a little bit longer and my next client's waiting, you know? And so these are all things that they love. This is a great benefit to them. I love that. It was actually kind of super fun. So that's it. This is really about taking control of your future. And it's really easy with software that supports and all of the things that you're looking for. Like, you want to be able to step away. The software that you're using should be able to support you with making sure that like your inventory isn't challenging to manage, that, you know, clients have the ability, or not clients, stylists have the ability to have access to their own profiles. Like, I love that for our salon, we give everybody manager access to Aura. They can see absolutely everything. They can change their own service times. They can change their own prices and their own rates. Like they can have full control over what that looks like. So I have less on my plate to have to manage because I'm giving them the responsibility to do that. And again, that's that dividing line between those two. And that's what I think is really important, and important for your own mental health. I mean, if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that you deserve to have your own mental health at the focus, because everybody is going to come to you as a salon owner to ask all the questions, to give them all the answers, you know, and they're constantly draining you. This is a great way, and again, with software that supports it, is an amazing way to really make sure that that line is clear and defined between you and your stylist. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share because that's my entire PowerPoint presentation. Now I can see your amazing conversations.
I love that so much. And, you know, a comment that you had said earlier kind of resonated with that last part there, you know, allowing your staff to have access to everything, because again, all the times I've worked with, you know, salon owners, I can feel the cringes internally, you know, that fear that we have over allowing our stylists to be able to have control and do more operationally within our systems and our business. And again, paradigm shift. I can't say it enough. We have to shift our paradigm in this, you know, day and age, this kind of post-pandemic era that we found ourselves in. And what I love about it, and what in my head circulated when you started talking about this, is in all my years of coaching, I can't tell you how many times I've worked with a salon that has a stylist who may be, you talked about being the toxic owner, but let's talk about toxic stylists for a second, right? But they're the high performer. And so they don't let them go because you're relying on their income, their business, their clientele to support your business. And so that toxicity, that poor behavior, or whatever's happening continues to foster and foster. It transfers over to the rest of the team. Next thing you know, they left anyways. And you're in a panic because you're going, oh my gosh, how am I going to make up this income? Because you're putting your business's hands, or well-being into their hands instead of back into your own hands. And so 100%. Again, I love that you're talking about kind of splitting it up, taking that ownership of what you're responsible for, putting that ownership on them of what they're responsible for. You know, no longer do we have the luxury, or should we want to put all of our eggs in one basket anymore. You know, and you mentioned we give them 6 months and then the rug comes out. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We let them go and we move on. And it's about making sure that we're doing what's best for our business, our team, and our clients, you know. But at the end of the day, it's a business that you have to run, you know, and being able to not rely on any one or two stylists to support your business, I can only imagine the weight that lifts off your shoulders.
Oh my God, let me tell you. I mean, like first, no one holds me hostage in my own business, not a stylist and not a client, like nobody. It's my business. I'm not going to be held hostage to anybody. If a stylist came to me and said, well, this is what I'm demanding, I would say, well, that's not how I run my business. So you're welcome to find one that looks like how you want it to look, because this isn't what I do. I mean, no one's going to hold me hostage. You know, like, what other industry do stylists get together and confront a salon owner about stuff that has to change? Like, no other industries and employees just go up to the boss and say, this is what I'm not going to do. I mean, it's like crazy conversations, but it happens in our industry all the time. Like, you're flying the plane. This is your business. Nobody else is responsible for it. It is you and you alone, and that is it. And so I'm not going to sit back and wait for hairstylists to show up in my business and want to work for me. I'm going to go find them. And so, because where are all the great hairstylists working? At other hair salons. And I'm going to go recruit them. So I'm going to engage with them on Instagram. I'm going to send them a job offer. Can they turn the job offer down? 100%. Can they accept it? Totally. As a salon owner, you don't own anybody, right? There are fundamental truths to owning a salon that hurt when you really soak them in, but they hurt for a second, and then you're completely relieved of suffering. And that those thoughts are, I don't own people, right? Nobody is going to retire from my salon, period. Nobody. The staff that I have right now is not going to be the staff I have in 5 years. And so it is my responsibility to be proactive about that and find more people. You know, when I retire, when I try and go and sell my business, it's not going to be worth anything, because it's not worth a valuation. Because if anybody else were to leave my salon, it would not be the same salon. So you don't own those clients. You don't own those stylists. And hiding client information from your stylist, what's the point? There's Instagram. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, hiding that information, the clients are going to find them on Instagram anyways. And so all of this practice of like, yeah, hiding, gatekeeping all this information is not hurting the stylist. It's hurting you in the long run, because you're kind of locking these doors from them. You're gatekeeping it from them, and you're not focusing on their growth. For me, like, we have a stylist just move on. She's going to rent a chair. And I was like high-fiving her. That's great. This is awesome. Because if this isn't the environment that you think that you can thrive in, then I'm going to help you find one that you can. And I would much rather you tell me that to my face before it gets toxic, and before, you know, it gets to a point where we're being reactive at each other and I have to let you go. You know, I would much rather you say, I'm not really aligning with a couple of these things, and they make me feel a little uncomfortable. I'm going to go, amazing. Let's find you a chair. Let's go find you somewhere else. And then my responsibility is to hire other people to fill that. And if I have a client, if I have a stylist who's high producing and I need to have, you know, I want that income there, but I have none of my other stylists are producing as high as that one, then it's my job to find 3 stylists that are producing the same amount as that one. That's my job. And once you define that, and you don't have anybody putting that pressure on you, you don't have any hostage, you know, you don't have it. I know what my salon should be making, because I know what each chair is worth, even at the minimum, at what it is. So I know at the end of the year, my revenue is potential, because every hour at the salon that's open, well, not even that's open, just whenever they want to book, like really 7 days a week. So if you have clients, if you have stylists that want to work on a Sunday, let them work on a Sunday. You know, if you 7 days a week, I've got these chairs that are worth this amount of money. I know how much I'm going to make at the end of the year. My job is to get there, not theirs.
I love it. Now, there's a couple outstanding questions. So let's go over those before we wrap up here. Thanks for everybody who is hanging in here for a few extra minutes. So one was retail. Does your salon have in-person retail?
We don't retail at all.
We don't retail. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, there's any distributors in here at all. We have affiliate links. Like, we'll have an online store. I have affiliate links through a couple distributors in Canada that are possible, but I don't worry about that. I mean, when you really, that's a whole other thing. I'm going to get into the whole topic of the fact that retail actually doesn't make you as much money as you think it does. Like, and on top of that, you're paying other people to manage and dust it and like all that kind of stuff. It's, why not just make sure that your services are profitable and they're going to find their stylists, you know, their products anywhere else. I mean, brands are selling and supplying to Amazon left, right, and center. And it's not coming from diversion. It's actually coming from brands, and Amazon's opening up hair salons. Like, this is not a world that we're going to be able to really compete in at a certain point. And so the way that our industry pivots is to make sure that we are profitable on services alone, and products are extra. You should never rely on it for income.
Got it. So what about other beauty services providers like makeup or estheticians, lashes? Do they also have an hourly rate, or how do you do that?
Same? We had a nail tech, but we don't have one anymore. But yeah, same thing. It was an hourly rate, and it was really great because she loved doing these like really elaborate nails with like crystals and all that kind of stuff. And so I just found a break-even point for her, and she didn't have to worry about upselling these amazing designs that she wanted to do. She just knew that she quoted her time, and everything was covered in the same way.
Got it. And so when you first rolled this out, was it something that, did you do like a trial run, or did you just full launch? This is what we're going to do. Here we go.
Oh, we full launched 100%.
Love
we just
it.
went right in. And only because like it makes sense. Like, there's not a trial that I had to do. It's, we are selling our time. This is what we have to charge. Yeah.
Okay. So how and when do your stylists raise their hourly? Do you guys still have goals that they need to hit in order to raise those prices? So moving away from that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then how do you assure that that the stylists at your business are there, say the hours that you're open? So
How do I assure that they're there the hours that I'm open? Oh, well, they're not there the hours that I'm open. They're there the hours that they're booking, And so what I did was I changed, instead of a key, I have a keypad. So they
uh-huh.
all have their own keypad entry to the salon door. And so I know who's coming in and out. And same thing with the alarm code. I know who's logging in and out, but they set their own schedules whenever they want. There's not an open and close time for the salon, and I don't demand that they stay there for a set schedule. It's they book, they're there when they book clients, and that's it.
Okay. And then last one. So are the stylists purchasing all their own styling products to use on a client, or do you purchase that? So like back bar,
Yep,
that's
that's
all
all us.
provided.
Yep, it's
Got
all
it.
us, and we don't deduct it from their paycheck at all.
Okay. Well, that is the final of the, oh, one last one popped in. How often do they get paid?
We do weekly. We do weekly payroll,
Weekly?
and it's direct deposit. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
I don't think, especially after the pandemic, I don't think hiding their income is like hiding it back from them. I think it's giving it as fast as they possibly can is the best way to do it.
Yeah. Well, good deal.
There's a
Okay.
hand raised
Well,
too.
I wanted
oh,
to
okay.
ask one
Oh,
more
yeah.
Go
before
ahead.
we get off. So we're an all-inclusive salon and barber shop. So I kind of noticed most of your focus was like having time, like you said, starting at an hour, but like with barbering services, fades, beard trims, shaves, things like that, they necessarily aren't always an hour. So what would be
Mhm.
your best strategy on attacking that?
Well, the first thing I would do is really, really examine whether they aren't an hour. You know what I mean? Like I could understand a shave not being an hour, it's a half hour, but if you're doing like an intricate fade, you're texturizing all that kind of stuff. If it takes you 45 minutes, then it takes you an hour. And like I would really examine that. Like if it takes you 30 minutes or less, then just divide your rate by two. You know what I mean? Like it's okay to charge a 30 minutes. I don't really let clients book a 30-minute online, but in the event that I have a client who's like, you know what, I'm going to come in with my hair like totally dry and style exactly, can you just like trim up the ends and go? And it's a half an hour appointment. Like I'm not going to make them pay for the full time, but that's like so very far and few between. But with barbering services, I would really, I mean, it's up to you, but if it's a half hour service, then it would definitely be just half of a 1 hour rate. So if your rates for an hour is $60, then it would be a $30 service. But actually examine if it takes your stylist 30 minutes, because if that's the case, if you're charging them half the rate, they need to be service performed, cashed out, and out of your building, ready to take another client within 30 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, it's that time that you're including is include the cash out time, include the photo, like include social media time, like include all of that stuff into that. They have to be in the chair, service performed, out the door in 30 minutes in order to qualify for that time.
That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Love it. Okay. One last one popped in here before we wrap up. Do you provide any benefits?
No, but when we hit our first million, I will.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great goal.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennessa. We really appreciate you sharing, how you made that switch and some of those best practices and how you have pivoted after the pandemic to repair and grow. We so enjoyed this time together, and thank you everybody who came and joined and hung out. I know we went a little bit long today, but some good conversation I think was had. If anybody has any follow-up questions, we will be, sending out the recording and things like that to y'all later. So feel free, or once we get some contact out to you, we're happy to answer any additional questions that may come up after the call. Well, thank you again, and everyone have a good rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.